Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. It's Tuesday, March 8th, and that means that I'm about 11 weeks off from my average last frost date. I have a few things that I need to get planted, and I thought I'd bring you along for it. Some people have been wanting to see my calendar just to kind of cross-reference, I guess, with what they have planned. My average last frost is approximately the 24th of May. Most people in my area will plant their vegetable gardens and put a lot of their bedding plants about the 21st of May because that's a long weekend for us. So just keep that in mind as you're planning, that your plans might not be the same as mine, just depending on your region and what your frost dates look like. But I'll put in a shot of this calendar for this month. This is my flower calendar. And in a few days, I'm going to be planting up some onions and celery and parsley, I think I'm going to do as well. And I'll pop in my vegetable calendar at that time for you to have a look as well. But that'll just let you know where I am. And if you want to compare that to where you are, then that's how you can do that. What I want to get done today is plant up these spring flowering bulbs. Now, I've had these bulbs in a small bar refrigerator, away from any apples or any other ethylene kind of producing fruits or vegetables. They've been in there by themselves, and they've been in there, I think it's been 16 weeks now. All I know is I marked it on my calendar when to pop them out and plant them, and that was actually a few days ago, but I was out of town. So I have this mix of tulips, and I actually have 2 bags of those, so that's 40 tulips. And then I have this set of Dutch Master Narcissus or daffodils. A lot of them have already started to sprout. I don't know how well you can see that in the bags. I'll show you when I get planting them. But I want to get those planted into some small pots so that hopefully I can get them forced inside and have them blooming a little bit earlier than I would see blooms outside in my area. So this is just one way that you can force plants, and I plan to put them outside as long as the weather cooperates. I don't plan to have them in my house. Some people will force bulbs to have them blooming much sooner and have pots of them in their homes. That's not something that I'm looking for. And around here, quite often, our spring bulbs aren't blooming until the end of May and even into June. So I'm hoping to get some blooms going about the end of April, beginning of May, that I can pop into some pots and just enjoy that way. So I'll get those done in just some small pots that I can pull the root balls out and move them on into something larger outdoors. And then I have my Echium Russicum and my Rudbeckia. I have 2 kinds of Rudbeckia here. I have Cherry Brandy and Prairie Sun. Now, I was going to put them in my small channel trays to sow them that way, but I got reading the packages and realized that they want to be kept at just an average room temperature, you know, of about 20 degrees or a little bit less even. So that doesn't work with my channel trays right now because I have some peppers in them and they're on a heat mat. So I'll just be putting these into some small 6-cell trays, which is plenty for what I'm wanting, and put them on my grow shelf under lights in a different area. So that's my plan. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to work on is getting the bulbs done, and then they take up a lot of space, so I can just get them done and out of the way. So I have 40 of the tulip bulbs. I'm thinking I'll probably get about 5 in each pot, and I'm hoping to use these kind of smaller pots. They all have drainage holes in the bottom. The tulips don't need a whole lot of soil right now. Like I said, this is just kind of like pre-sprouting. It's just getting them going, and then once they're really going, I'm hoping to get them out into some bigger pots outside. So let's see if I can get about 5 in each pot. That'd be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So that's close to all of them there. And then I have some of these pots. These black ones actually don't have drainage holes. They came with amaryllis. So we'll get those out of the way because I don't feel like punching the holes unless I have to. So what did I say I've had? So I have 5 more of these. So I'll see if I can try and squeeze 5 tulip bulbs into each of these. And then that should hopefully leave me enough for the daffodils. Now, daffodil bulbs are quite large. So are these tulip bulbs actually. So we'll see. I might need to dig out another pot or two, but that's going to be my plan going into this, and we'll just see how it turns out. So I've pre-moistened some soil here, and this is just a mixture of a Pots and Plants potting soil that has, I've added some vermiculite at a ratio of about 4 scoops of the potting soil to 1 scoop of vermiculite, and then I put in just another scoop of cocoa coir, and there's actually a little bit of that sand. If you saw my testing the soil starting mediums, I had dumped some of the sand out of the tray in with cocoa coir, so there's a little bit of that in there, but it's really a negligible amount. So I'm going to fill up these pots. I know this won't be enough for all these pots. I have a little bit more of the potting soil and perlite mix to do the rest. So when I'm doing pots like this, especially these like with these large drainage holes, I like to just put a little piece of a coffee filter or newsprint or something in the bottom just to kind of hold the soil till the roots get going. So I'm just going to rip up some coffee filters and put them in the bottom of these. Now it's not altogether necessary to do this. It's just more of a precaution when I'm working indoors than anything else. If I was outside, I wouldn't worry about it as much, but these are going to be in my house, and I don't want wet, mucky soil running up the bottom of these if I should happen to overwater them or something happens. So, and the filter will just break down and disintegrate. Pretty rare for me to ever find a filter in the bottom of my pots when I'm cleaning them out. It has to be that the plants haven't been in there for very long if I do. I'll show you with this pot here what I'm doing. So you can see I put that coffee filter in there. And now these pots, you can see I rinse them out, but I don't always bleach them. I used to bleach them out and clean them really well all the time, and I guess I've gotten lazy because unless I've had like a major disease or bugs or something in them, the last few years I've just given them a really good soak in some water, rinse them, and just kind of rub them around the edges. And so occasionally there's still a little bit on the pots, but it's not usually a big deal. So like I said, this is almost just like a pre-sprouting here. And so I'm not putting, like the soil you can see is only like about that deep there. That's all I've done there. And then I'm going to open up these bulbs. And these were just bulbs I picked up cheap at the big box store. Nothing really special about them or anything. And this is a mixture, so I'm going to have all sorts of different bulbs. So as I go through, I'm just going to feel and make sure there's nothing like, this one's a little soft, but not like a mushy soft, so I think it'll be all right. I might be able to get more than 5 in these. That'll be great. So, and I'm going to put them pretty close together. So again, I'm looking for like real rot, lots of mold, anything like that would show me that these bulbs are off. Like this has the tiniest little bit that might have a tiny bit of mold on it there, but nothing that's actually concerning to me. It's not soft there. It's not like a thick, heavy mold. It's a pretty standard kind of mold on a bulb that's been stored like this. So I'm going to try and do my best to get a little bit of space between these bulbs if I can. So there they are. There's a little fraction of space between all of them. So I actually managed to get 6 in there, so that'd be nice. And then I'm just going to cover them up with soil, or the potting mix, I guess. And again, this is like if you were putting these out in your yard, in the fall, you'd be burying them deeper than this, but for this purpose, 4 to 5 centimeters on top is just fine. And I'm just going to give it a gentle pack down and put it to about 1 centimeter within the top of the pot there, like that. Maybe one more little scoop here. So once I get all of these pots filled, I will be putting them down in a cool room in my basement. They don't really need a lot of, any light at this point. So I'm just going to go somewhere cool. They've been around 0 to 5 degrees Celsius in the refrigerator. Now I'm going to get them up to about 15 Celsius. And this soil, like I said, is just damp. It's not wet in any way. Like I could not squeeze water out of this if I tried. And that's just how I'm going to leave them until they start to sprout. Then I'll get them into some light and get them growing on that way, and wait till they can get outside where it's safe for them to be out there. So I'm just going to go through and finish up the rest of these. The daffodils we planted the exact same way, just spacing them in the pots as best I can so that they're not actually touching each other, but they're very close. And I'll get them all done and I'll show you when I'm done. You can see here where the daffodils are starting to sprout. I thought I had seen some tulips that were sprouting as well, but I never actually found any that were, but the daffodils definitely are. And they're a nice size. I might only get 3 in a pot. Okay, so I got all those bulbs planted in these little pots here, and I've just put a little piece of tape on the side with what's in them. The tulips just say tulips assorted, and the date and how many are in the pot. The tulips, I think I put 6 in each pot. I did the labels after I was done everything, and I can't remember for sure. Some might have more. One I think might have 7 in it, this one. And then the daffodils, I don't know if you can see them in here. There's 5 of these little pots here, and they each have 3 daffodils. A lot of those daffodils were kind of a split bulb, so they're quite large. And I expect they will probably be showing in the next couple of weeks some sprouts because they were already sprouted. Tulips will probably take close to a month before I'm seeing much action outside of the soil here. They'll be busy putting on some roots and getting going that way. The daffodils, you might have noticed, had large chunks of roots on the bottom of them. Now that is last year's roots that just the company didn't cut them off well. I could have easily just trimmed those right back to the base of the bulb. I did find a couple of tulip bulbs seem just a little extra squishy, and now it seems like it's just the outside of the bulb. So I haven't decided yet. I may put these in another pot and just keep them separate. Some of these tulips, even some of the ones in here, were a little bit loose. Like it's like the outside is kind of loose on them. Like they don't really actually feel rotten. It's just like the outside had started to dry up maybe. I don't know. I've put them in the refrigerator many times. I've never had that happen. The only thing I can think that might have happened with these is there was about a week where the refrigerator was right around the 0 mark, and it might have dipped under a little bit in there. I was having a lot of trouble getting that to maintain temperature for me for the first little while these were in there. So that's my only guess. So I haven't decided, but I will probably wind up putting these 4 bulbs just in one of like a smaller pot like this size, and just marking them and keeping them separate and just seeing what happens with them. Just because I'm a little bit curious about that, but I didn't do that right now. I want to get these put down. I'm going to put them down in the basement where I have a few other plants that need cooler temperatures. And like I said, I'd started up a few pots of daffodils before that had gone in the refrigerator just a little bit sooner than these had. So they were ready to come out about a week earlier. So they're just sitting down there waiting. And like I said, about a month to see sprouts on the ones that weren't sprouted. The rest might be a little bit sooner, but they do still have to get some roots going and get going that way. Once they start to show signs of sprouts, I'll be fertilizing them, putting them in some bright light. I'll still keep them in cool temperatures. These are spring bulbs after all, and protecting them until it's safe to be putting them outside without risk of them being frozen. So that's the plan for these. So now I'm going to get the Rudbeckia and the Echium Russicum planted up. I just want to get tags for them so that I don't get them mixed up. Another name for Echium is Viper's bug loss. So it just has a real tall red spike, is my understanding, for flowers, and just a rosette of leaves. I haven't actually seen this in person yet. This is just what I'm going by. And the company I bought them from, what is it called? Prairie Garden Seeds out of Humboldt. So they don't have a ton of information on their website, and their packages. I don't know if you can see, I've written a lot of things in pencil. I'm trying to look it up, but most of it is just their address and then Echium Russicum handwritten in pencil on top there. So just going by what I could find online for those, but it just sounded like a really interesting plant. So it's a plant I tried for the first time to get going last year from seed. I got one plant out of several that I tried, and I think I shaded it out, put it in the wrong spot where I forgot I had some large plants that needed to come up yet in that area that were slower to get going. So I'm hoping to get a few more plants going and get them planted in more appropriate locations in my yard, because it should be perennial in my space. And then, like I said, both of these Rudbeckias, I have Prairie Sun, which is a yellow Rudbeckia, and Cherry Brandy, which is kind of a mahogany red. And as I understand, they are both annuals in my area. Now, I'm gardening zone 3B in Saskatchewan, Canada, so I believe these are actually both fairly hardy plants, just not in my area, but in a lot of other growing areas, they would be just fine. So like I said, I just grabbed some 9-cell trays. These will grow to larger plants. I thought these are 6-cell trays. I think I just said 9. I thought about grabbing 9-cell trays, but I think that by the time I get these planted out, I might have larger plants going. I can't remember from past years, but I think they'll spread, like their leaves will get large. So I want a little bit bigger tray to start with. And I don't really need 9 plants of either of these. I looked at what I have left of the Echium, and I think I only have about 9 seeds, so I can put a couple extra in a couple cells, and otherwise this should be good for this. So the same growing medium that I was using before with the bulbs, I've just added a little bit of peat moss to it, just a Miracle Grow peat moss growing mix. It's just left over from when I did my my growing medium trials. You can check out that video. I'll put it in the link below if you're interested in those videos. And the only reason I added it is just because I'm a little bit short on soil here. And the rest that I have in this bucket, I just sterilized because my big bag of growing medium that I have left is full of fungus gnats. So I've been sterilizing it, not something I usually do with my seed starting mixes, but I do not need a grow room full of fungus gnats. Okay, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of water in there. Just to get this a little bit moister because of that peat moss. That should be good for what I'm doing. So I'm just going to fill my trays up. So, like I said, the 9-cell trays should give me plenty of plants for what I'm working on here. The Prairie Sun Rudbeckia on the package actually says to start it 4 to 6 weeks early. And The cherry brandy doesn't actually tell you. It says to start it outside. But when I did research looking them both up online for these particular varieties, I saw some other sources that said I should be starting them for a cold climate such as mine with a short season. I should be starting them sooner than that to give them time to flower. And like I said, these are going to be annuals in my area. So I want to make sure I get flowers and, you know, more than a week or two of flowers out of them before frost hits. Okay, and one more tray here. There. Okay, so I'm going to start with the Rudbeckia. So these are the Prairie Sun. I have notes written on the back. It says it's yellow with orange accents, and it's supposed to bloom from early summer to early fall. Needs a full sun location. It's drought tolerant, but it says it will bloom the best with moisture. And they're about 2.5 to 3 feet tall, and you need about a 12-inch spacing. And they're supposed to be a good cut flower, so that's part of why I picked these. I don't think I've ever had an envelope inside an envelope, like a paper envelope like this before. I've had like wax paper and different things, but I really hope there's seeds in here. Oh my, this is brand new. Ooh, sir. Not much there. Bright yellow, wow. No wonder they double package them. You don't want to lose those. Okay, so let's do... Now these are supposed to be just really lightly covered with the potting mix. So I'm trying to put about 3 on the surface here. That leaves me about 5 left. Now it also says you could direct sow these, so I might try doing that with some of them. Let's put the tag in before I mix them up. So this is the cherry brandy. Again, a brand new package. And that's more like what I'm used to. Oh, sometimes people want to know where I get these from. So this one was from T&T Seeds. And this one was from Vessi Seeds. And like I said, the Echium is from Prairie Garden Seeds. Very small little seed growing company in Humboldt, Saskatchewan. Again, Rudbeckia seeds, very small. This is more the color I was expecting from when I've planted before. I don't know if those yellow ones, if they have a bit of a coating. It didn't say they did. I kind of wonder if they have a bit of a coating of some sort on them. Again, I tried to put about 3 seeds in each cell, and I think that used up all the seeds doing that. Put this on. Now it said to give them just a very fine covering of the growing medium. So I'm just going to sprinkle some of this leftover on top, and then I'm actually going to put some vermiculite on top, just a really thin layer. So I'll just try and cover these yellow seeds. It's easy to tell if I've covered them. These I have no idea, but I'm going to sprinkle the vermiculite on, and I'm just going to do like a real fine amount. Vermiculite just helps to kind of regulate the soil, the moisture on top of the soil layer there, which can help prevent fungus and damping off type issues. These are real fine seeds, so I'm going to be just leaving them like this. I'm not going to spray even the top of them because they are so fine and they want just a real fine covering. I don't want to over cover them. And the soil's already nice and moist, the medium that I have them in here. So I'm just going to bottom water once I'm done. So the Echium, I'm really excited about these. I really hope I can get some good plants going this year with these. I was a little frustrated with myself when I realized that I had planted them in such a poor location, totally forgetting about some of the plants that I had there that were just slow to come up. And we're going to completely shade these plants out. Yeah, there was only about 9 seeds in there. And these say to just put them surface sown. Well, it says cover seed thinly. So I will put just a tiny sprinkling of the vermiculite as well. I'm not even going to do the growing medium on these. Put the tag in. And like I said, I'm just going to put some water in this tray and let them soak it up and get moist on top. That way, just because they are a fairly fine seed and I want to make sure that they stay put and I don't lose any. So these are just going to go on my grow shelf, just at normal room temperature, no heat mat or anything. Under the lights, they probably don't actually need lights until they sprout, but the lights are on there anyways where they're going. So that's how they're going to stay. These said they should sprout in about 10 days. This says a couple of weeks, so hopefully I'll have some action on these fairly soon. So there, I checked a lot of things off my list today, so that's great. March is a busy month and I'm getting lots going, so thanks for sticking around and hanging out with me today in my grow room, and we'll see you next time. Bye.